YouTube and you'll see in just a second. And then you can call the meeting to order.
Cool. All right, so I see the meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. So I'm going to go ahead and call the December 1st Hillsborough Historic District Commission meeting to order. We'll start with a roll call to verify attendance. William Spoon here. Virginia.
Here.
William Center. Actually dropped off. Liz Dicker.
Here.
Great.
Here it comes.
They're coming back.
Hey, Will, can you hear us and confirm your presence?
I'm here. Sorry. Clicking the Xbox kicks me out of the meeting.
All good. All right. So that is the number we need for a quorum. 4. So we're good on that. Go ahead and go through the commission's mission statement to identify, protect, and preserve Hillsborough's architectural resources and to educate the public about those resources. The preservation in general, the Hillsborough Historic District presents a visual history of Hillsborough's development from the 1700s to the 1960s. In 1973, the town chose to respect that history through the passage of the Preservation Ordinance, creating the Historic District. So if we could verify if there have been any agenda changes, Tyler, are we still good with what was sent out a week or so ago?
Yep, no changes.
No changes.
And I'm sorry, Will, can everyone just mute themselves until you're talking? Because we're getting some feedback from somebody. I'm sorry, Will.
Oh, no, you're good. I figured we'd all get there. Yeah, it looks like everyone's muted. Thanks. And so review the minutes and approve those from the meeting on November 3rd. Did anyone have any of the commissioners have any comment or feedback on the minutes from November 3rd? All right, looking around, seeing head shakes. Good. So in that case, can I get a motion to approve those minutes as distributed previously?
Motion to approve.
All right, that's Will Spoon seconds. Oh, Liz seconds. Will Spoon votes aye. And then Virginia, do you vote aye on that minutes approval? Cool. All right, thumbs up. Thank you. So minutes are approved. That takes us to new business. And one minor point here, Tyler mentioned it in the email, but we're trying to streamline this some and cut out some of the roll call voting. And so we're gonna basically open the overall public hearing with one roll call vote and then close it at the end of all 5 applications instead of opening, closing. But we're still going to vote on the finding of fact and then vote to approve each application. So we'll go from 3 to 2. Did I get that right, Tyler?
And
Nice.
actually, Will, you can just open the public hearing as chair. You don't need a roll call vote for that. So you can, when you're ready to open the public hearing, you can just open it.
Okay, I open the public hearing. And our first, let's see. So I'll go ahead and introduce our first application. It's a certificate of appropriateness application for 210 West King Street. Applicant Maureen Killigan is requesting, again, I apologize to anyone if I get your names wrong, just correct me whenever you're speaking. Requesting to renovate the front facade of the house by replacing the middle 2nd-story window with a door and installing a wrought iron balcony, repositioning the front porch columns, installing wrought iron railing on the front steps, and adding hinges and shutter dogs to current shutters. Pin 9864, tack 96, tack 3464. Can I get any conflicts of interest or bias from any of the commissioners? Virginia, go ahead. Are you going to recuse from this one? You're muted, Virginia.
Yeah, I consider Michael and Maureen my friends, and some friends, I wouldn't need this, but with these 2 people, I feel I need to be recused. because I have bias in their favor.
Fair enough.
I will say that her application cannot be heard tonight then. She'll have to be tabled to January because we don't have quorum without your vote. But you can hear, if you can be impartial and vote, it doesn't have to be a unanimous vote at the end of the night. It's a democratic process, but you have to be impartial and stick to the guidelines. If you cannot be impartial, then yes, you should recuse yourself, or the commission should vote to recuse you, but we will have to table this application until January when we have a quorum.
Okay, well, since it's already been put off for 1 month, I guess I better suck it up and pretend like I don't actually know these two.
Stephanie, if she wanted, could she vote no comment or no position or something when it comes to the?
No,
She
but
has a
whatever
vote
the
yes or no?
motion is, you vote your conscience in regards to the design standards. So actually, for close friendships really don't generally mean a conflict of interest. In Hillsborough, we're all close.
Yeah, I
And,
know.
it's a small town. A conflict of interest, just for everyone's education, would be something like sharing a property line or having a financial interest in the property or having a direct familial relationship. So in this case, you just have to tell Maureen how much you care about her, but then do your duty and pay attention to the design standards. Vote your conscience on whatever motion is made.
Okay, that's what Mark said, so it must be true. Okay, I hear you.
Great. So Virginia's not going to recuse, but thanks for being sensitive to it. And Stephanie, thank you for explaining that it should be okay. So next I'll swear in staff. Tyler, do you promise to tell the truth?
I do.
All right, Stephanie, are you going to speak on staff behalf tonight too?
Possibly, but I'll go ahead and promise to tell the truth and the whole truth.
Great. Thank you. Maureen, could we get you to promise to tell the truth and the whole truth? You're muted, ma'am.
I do.
Great.
Wow.
And since this is your whole application, you could probably stay unmuted if it's tricky switching it on and off. Up to you. And is anyone else here representing you tonight, or okay, so you're the main applicant representative. Great. And Tyler, did we have anybody dial in to speak for or against this application that needs to be sworn in?
No.
Okay, great. So then that's on to you to do the staff report, Tyler.
Yep. All right. This is a 2-story sided gabled colonial revival style house. It's 3 bays wide and double piled with a 2-story shed
I'm
roof.
having
porch.
trouble hearing you. I'm sorry.
Oh, all right. Turn up my volume here. Is that better?
Yep. that's
Okay,
better.
excellent. So the house with plain weather boards, cornice returns, 8/8 wood sash windows, and an interior brick chimney. Centered on the facade is a 3-light over 4-panel door with 10 light side lights and 1 light transform. The 2-story porch is supported by grouped squared posts. A 2-story hipped roof ill at the rear likely dates around 1950. It has weatherboards, double hung wood sash windows, and a picture window on the left west elevation that is flanked by 4/4 windows. An attached 1-story gable garage at the rear has a brick veneer and wide brick chimney. The house is sited on top of a hill framed with manicured boxwoods and historic hardwoods. County tax records date the building to 1926. However, the front portion of the building appears on the 1924 Sanborn map, and it appears in this location on the 1894 Sanborn map. And the applicant is, oh yeah, and Will already went over that. So good.
Great, thanks, Tyler. So we verified we have no one. Sorry, applicant testimony. Would you like to add anything, Ms. Killigan?
Well, I'm so glad that you got the notion that the very front bay is going to be either somewhere between 1875 and 1885. There's a long historical narrative where I researched the state of the house and found many other models in the state of North Carolina. One that has the exact same fireplace that was built in 1895. So it's not, the town, the first things you see the town say about it is that it's a 1925, 1950 house. And I'm sure there are 1925 and 1950s elements in it, but the whole front facade, the whole front, not the facade, is at least definitely pre 1890s, because we have a picture of it with just a single story porch. It was in the application. I hope people had a chance to see the pictures.
Definitely, and I enjoyed reading your application, and it's a little history lesson. So thank you for being so thorough and putting all that together. It was really
Right.
cool to see all that.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add about it?
Pardon me?
Anything else you'd like to testify on your application before we get into some questions from the other commissioners?
Well, no, fine. Just I'm happy to hear any questions, and I hope I have answers.
Great, sounds good. So we saw there's still there's no one has come to speak in support or opposition, so we'll skip that, and we'll next go to the commission's questions to the applicant and the witnesses. And Tyler, since this is a street-facing profile, let's go through the profiles one by one, if you don't mind.
Yeah. I was actually going to ask you that if you wanted that to be
Yeah, just since
shared.
this is street-facing, we'll probably need to go through them all.
Hey, Will, before we dive into the elevations, I just had a quick clarifying question on the scope of the application. I noted, maybe this is for Tyler. I noticed on the cover letter, you had marked off the railings down the stairs as being approved by minor works, but later in the application on, it's page 11 of the application as labeled in the application, there's some work that's crossed off that says it's been approved as minor works that includes the shutter dogs and some paint. Is all of that already approved as minor works? I just wanted to clarify the scope of what's already been addressed.
To my knowledge, only the paint and the wrought iron railings is the only thing that's been approved for minor work.
Okay, so the hinges are still part of our review tonight, or the shutter dogs, excuse me.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks for clarifying that, Will.
All right. So I believe everybody had a look at this, and you just want to go to the elevations of it. Is that what you want me to go to, Will?
Yes, please. Especially since Virginia wasn't expecting to be here, and it's kind of a weird night as far as attendance goes.
Here is the existing elevation, the front, and proposed.
Okay, so maybe we'll go through just person by person, and you can speak to any questions you have, and then if another person after you don't have to cover the same thing again if you have the same question and it gets answered. So we could start with Will, since he was already asking some stuff. You want to lead us off on any questions on this one, Will, Center?
Sure, yeah, and I'll echo too, Will, what you said. Maureen, appreciate the thoroughness and effort and research that you put into the application. It was very nice to see. One thing particular to this elevation that I just wanted to confirm or clarify, the application summary specifically references a wrought iron balcony. This elevation shows a very modest sized wrought iron balcony, a Juliet balcony. Throughout the narrative and the longer explanation, there's reference to a bigger, wider, full elevation wood balcony. I just wanted to confirm that what we're reviewing and approving tonight is essentially the wrought iron Juliet balcony as shown in this elevation. not a larger wood balcony that's sort of referenced sporadically throughout.
No, the only, no, we would not do the bigger wood balcony like the one at Poplar Hill. I mean, we talked about it briefly, but we realized that it would be busy, a little too busy to have it all the way across. And I wanted to offer the option of doing this in wood rather than have it be a wrought iron balcony. We're not totally wedded to the wrought iron balcony, although the Juliet wrought iron balcony would be less expensive to attach to it, because you could just put it up sort of like a shutter. It wouldn't be anything you could stand on. Whereas a wood balcony would, even if it were just a railing, would have more difficult sort of attachments.
Gotcha.
And just from a stylistic,
The short answer is yes, we are talking about it, unless you say no, you don't want to have wrought iron on the house. Then we're talking about wood. But let's say that we are talking about a wrought iron balcony.
and my
Hey,
assumption,
Will,
it was a little hard to gauge stylistically the intent from this elevation. My assumption was that your intent was that the style of the balcony would be similar to the picture shown on page 7 as a precedent image.
Right, yes, yes. That's what they almost all look like. I just gave the North Carolina ones. There are tons of them. It's a real typical way for a Greek revival facade with the double height pillars to work, and then it is so that it acts as a roof. The double height roof acts as a roof over one part of an opening.
Specific to
Will.
the porch, those were really my two big questions. I appreciate the detail you provided, clarifying, from the interior, the pictures that showed it was clearly a door opening at a point in the past. That's certainly very helpful to understand the context as it relates to the guidelines. So,
right, here. No, I mean, it was a thought. I said, look, they didn't finish this off. What is this? When we first saw it. And then the neighbor came over and gave us the picture that she had from the 1490s house, which is in there somewhere. And it was clear there was a sleeping porch. So the door went out to the sleeping porch. And then I thought, gee, what this Greek revival facade is missing is that balcony, and it already has an opening. So the house is trying to say, let's go the whole 9 yards for the Greek revival, 1950s Greek revival renovation, to make it look more like what the classical, American colonial stuff looked like. They tried to copy, yeah. And the same goes for the ratios. The two pillars, the little pairs of pillars with the triples on the ends, are not in Greek ratios, which the people building houses in the 19th century, the early 19th century and late 18th century were careful about. And I remember when I first drove down the street and looked at this house, I said, oh, the pillars are wrong. They don't look right to anyone who has seen, classical architecture. They're very, very, very well-known global ratios. Anyone who does a Greek revival, a facade, would know to keep the 1/8.
Okay, we saw that in the application, and it's good to hear you explain it a little bit more. Well, I'm gonna jump back to you, but I forgot. I was gonna ask the balcony, made me remember. Tyler or Stephanie, can we get staff's interpretation on these two front facade changes we're considering? I haven't seen a lot of these balconies, so I just want to see if you think it's compatible with the standards, and if you know of any others in town that have the balcony. And really, the only two things we're considering here are the moving of the columns and the balcony if
Yeah,
the shutters and the railing has already been approved by staff.
right.
So this, you're right where it is. There's not. I was walking around the district today. There's not really a lot, and I couldn't really find any in the district. But the point of what we're going to be looking at is what Maureen kind of submitted as the evidence of, was there a door before in some type of period beforehand, and if that is enough evidence for the committee here to see that yes, they believe there was a door there, or no, that it's not enough evidence there was a door. Based off of that information, if the committee believes that there was a door previously, then yes, this would be in my eyes meeting the standard. But if not believing there's a door there, then no, it would not be appropriate to have this.
Okay,
Oh.
and assuming that it's clear the door's there, and I trust. In my opinion, I think the door was there. Do these architectural features match up in your mind? Because originally if the door was going to go to a sleeping porch, and now it's going to go to the Juliet balcony, is this still all square historically from architectural standpoint?
Yes-ish. Would we prefer the
Yes-ish. I like that.
Would we prefer the one off of Poplar Hill? That would be more incongruent with our district in Hillsborough, but this is okay.
That's actually one of the reasons why I, in this addendum that I sent in, the amendment, whatever, that I would be willing to do the more expensive wood balcony, because in fact Poplar Hill is a wood balcony. And it's the closest things because it's got the double height pillars. And it does have a second story, but very long balcony across the entire facade. Usually the little wrought iron do-jobbers, which are much more tidewater, are wrought iron. And there were wood railings on the steps, and we could do a wood railing on the balcony, and that would do the job, and it wouldn't be quite so frou-frou-ish, and it strikes me that might be more appropriate. And I would be perfectly happy to amend the balcony to look much more like what Poplar Hill attests as being appropriate.
Can I contribute something here?
Yes, please, Virginia.
Based on my vast experience on the commission and living just down the street, I didn't think that I was going to be commenting, so I admit, have a guideline to cite. I can only cite my experience. This wrought iron balcony is charming, but it's too fancy for the capital of the backcountry, which is what Hillsborough is. Poplar Hill, I think, has a little wooden balcony on the front of their house.
Right.
And I hate for you to have to spend more money, but I'm just being honest.
No, it's fine. I think I fell in love with one of the pictures from the Tidewater, North Carolina.
Like in Wilmington, yeah.
Yeah, Wilmington. And also it would be cheaper just to put it up there, big screws. But
yeah,
I
you wouldn't think so, but yeah.
I would love to have a balcony, but I think I agree with you, that Virginia, that it struck me as being, a little too much.
Well, the iron railings at the steps, on the other hand,
Right.
you see those are all over the place, I think.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons I got there. I said, okay, there's wrought iron. Even Stephanie even told me that the person who did all the wrought iron hand railings on all the stairs around town for the public sidewalks was I
Mhm.
have to get in touch with him. In fact, I tried to get in touch with him, but I think we missed at some point.
Well, I'm
so
also
I'm not-
wondering,
Hmm?
the shutters on either side of the upstairs door, which, door will be non-functional, the door, right?
Yes,
Upstairs. So I know in the guidelines, we say the shutters on the windows need to be wide enough that if you wanted to use them, which you probably never would, but they have to be able to actually close across the window that they're mounted on either side of.
mhm.
But with the door, that's not going to be possible unless you have a wider balcony.
Right.
So here I am
Very good.
picking this.
Yeah.
So Maureen, I hate to propose this, but if you are thinking the wooden balcony could make sense for you, I would be happy to see that application, but I don't think we have enough in this application to approve that. Like, we'd probably need another elevation showing that, wouldn't we, Tyler?
Just to make sure that, I mean, it's, for instance, if we're looking at this application that's in front of us with the Juliet balcony, I agree. I would like to see something to make sure it meets the standards of the wooden balcony or wooden porch, whatever it will be called on the second. Yeah. Yes.
Would that really mess you up to table it until you get a profile showing the wooden balcony, if that's the direction you decide to go?
Yeah. I in the addendum, I actually did say wooden balcony, so I am perfectly comfortable with that. And we can generate a new.
I hate you. You're going to have to come back 3 times. I really apologize. And
Yeah.
No, I missed the first one.
this has kind of been evolving, and we want to make sure we get it just right, because this is a pretty prominent property.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I want to make it look nice. It's got some gorgeous houses. It's attracting the color of it's repeating some of the color of twin chimneys. Close. No, we were trying to be very careful about making it fit.
Can we get this one in January, Tyler, if we table it, or does it need to go to February?
As of right now, we potentially only have one for January, so this would be the second. So yes, it can, as of right now, be comfortably in January.
Actually, a tabled application goes first on the agenda, so it would go first on the agenda. You guys need you need a motion to table it to a date specific.
Sure.
You have to state the date in the motion of the meeting.
Could we?
Which that would be the 5th.
Okay, so I make a motion to table this application until.
Wait a second, y'all. Maureen's trying to say something.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Maureen.
Could we get a judgment about the pillars?
That's a good. Can we do that, Tyler?
Yeah, I don't see why not, unless Stephanie knows something.
No, it's fine. You
yeah,
can
yeah.
split it up.
And Tyler, did you find any issues with this in your staff review?
The only question I really have is that, in the standards, it wants to preserve as much material as possible. If that's going to be the case, then yes, I didn't see any issues then. But that's
Because we're reusing the same pillars?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Well,
can we get
insofar as they're not rotted.
Yeah.
Right.
No, we would
Of course.
be using every board that works. They're just boards, so
Sure.
they're not solid.
Can we go around the HDC commissioners and get any feedback on the proposal to shrink the column width? I personally am okay with that. Will Center, what do you think?
Yeah, I very much agree with Maureen's, the application's points about the traditional spacing and geometry there. The only sort of question I had, which I think kind of gets to what Tyler was talking about, in my reading of the guidelines, it seemed sort of unclear as to the extent to which we're allowed to, for lack of a better word, kind of mess with the original design. But I think if staff feels comfortable that this feels appropriate, given that we're essentially reusing the existing material and architectural style, I think I'm okay with it.
I think I would just, as staff, sorry, to jump in front, is to say that there are many, many, many times that moving columns on a front porch would not be considered appropriate. So making sure that if this particular case is congruent and compatible in the district, that you're very specific about why that is in your motion.
To complement the very narrow paired pillars on the Colonial Inn. There.
No, Maureen, I just meant the HDC, when they make their motion, they need to be
Oh, I'm
explicit.
sorry.
Yep. No, I understand your argument, but just be clear that if it moves forward, that you don't set a precedent for moving columns around.
I guess, Stephanie, just for a little bit more clarification there, maybe, do you feel like if we were to approve this based on that argument, that we'd be consistent with kind of past precedents and evaluations that have been made previously?
There are times that the Historic District Commission has allowed columns to be moved on front porches for structural reasons, because columns were inappropriately installed at some point in the building's history. And I think that this one, I don't know the structural condition, but I think it's fair to say that they were not installed in a normal way. Like, I don't know how to say that. I don't know how to say that. Maureen is attempting to architecturally fix a problem from a 1950s installation. And I think that an argument can be made that is congruent or compatible in the district.
Right.
Can we
Perfect, thank you.
say something like, to change what is the right word, ratio of the column spacing to better match Greek Revival style or something?
Perfect.
I think you just volunteered to do that motion, Liz. I can give any comment on it. And after we hear from, so we got Virginia, Will, myself. So yeah, if you could just give your feedback, and then we could do the finding of fact to approve this part of it and then table the rest of it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Wait, am I talking? Aren't you waiting for somebody else?
No, Liz, your turn. Will, Virginia, and I have all given our deliberation on it.
Oh, on the
columns.
columns? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think that changing them seems great, and under the auspices of improving the ratio to more match the Greek Revival style.
Okay, great. So I'm going to summarize the facts and the evidence. It looks like the commissioners do find it in keeping with the standards to change the columns spacing to more closely match a typical Greek Revival style. And could I get a motion for finding of fact?
I'll move that we find as fact that the application for 210 West King Street is in keeping with the overall character of the historic district and complies with all relevant standards of evaluation based on our discussion of the application and the standards of evaluation in section 3.12.3 of the UDO, specifically the requirements around porches, balconies, and porches, entrances, and balconies, excuse me. Particularly because the column move is associated with maintaining the traditional ratios associated with this style of property.
Great, I second that. Can we get, if there's no other discussion with commissioners, can we get a vote aye or A or nay from Virginia?
Aye.
Okay, Liz,
Aye.
And actually, I'm sorry, Will, to correct you, forgive me, but we actually need each commissioner to say aye in a vote, even if you made the motion or the second. Sorry to be
Okay.
a stickler.
No, it's good. Will
Aye.
Spoon, aye. So that vote passes, and can we get a motion for a partial approval and a tabling?
Hey, Will, real quick, before we table the porch piece, I did have one question. I noticed in the balance of the application, there was reference to a couple other components like replacing the ceiling on the porch, like putting in a new beadboard ceiling on the porch, and requesting permission to add a sign and name the property. I had figured in my reading that adding a sign and naming the property isn't part of our purview, with the exception of just the sign standards that exist. So as long as the sign complies with those standards, it could be approved by staff as minor work. And I wasn't sure where things stood with the porch ceiling piece that was referenced in the description, or if we need to talk about that, or if that was addressed by staff as minor work or anything there.
Well, because the beadboard needed to be put up before it could be painted, and the painters were working.
Yeah.
That's
It's considered a repair if you replace in kind. It's not an exterior change and therefore doesn't need to come to the commission.
I just want to make sure it was a replacement in kind of what was originally there and was being addressed by staff as minor work separately or just on its own. So that's good.
yeah.
Thank you.
I sort of put it under the painting.
Mhm.
Yes, it was I'm sworn to total truth, and I should say that there was not beadboard on the ceiling before we painted it.
So that actually is an exterior change, and you can do an after the fact application for that component at the next meeting. You can add it to the next agenda. So right now, what we have is a finding of fact that the application is in keeping the specific part of the application that relates to the width of the columns being changed.
Yes.
What we need is a motion to, I assume, approve that part of the application with the modification that the ceiling change, which will be an after the fact application, and the balcony configuration will be tabled to a date specific. Does that make sense?
Great.
We need that motion and a second and a roll call vote.
I just have one other quick question. Do we want to address the hinges and the shutter dogs next time as well, or do we want to talk about it tonight?
We spent a fair amount of time on this one, and some things are still in place. So maybe we wait till next month and make sure that's still the direction they want to go.
Sounds good.
Okay. So can I get a motion for the approval and the tabling? Anybody?
I move to approve the partial application relating to the columns to January 5th meeting.
Yeah, just to be clear, sorry.
No.
You are moving to approve the component of the application that has to do with changing the width of the columns.
Yes.
And tabling the other components of the application to January 5th, 2022.
Yes. You need me to say those words?
No,
Okay.
I'm okay.
That's what I'm moving. Yes, I am moving that.
I second. Can I get a roll call vote? I vote aye. Liz?
Aye.
Will?
Aye.
And sorry, John.
Do you need me to vote
And
again?
Virginia, yes, please, Virginia.
Aye.
Okay. So that's approved and tabled to November 5th,
January.
January 5th. I'm all over the place.
I know. You guys are working really hard. I appreciate it.
But hey, thank you for your patience, and thanks for your willingness to come back next month. And we look forward to
Okay.
seeing the new
I'm
profiles.
gonna give you, I will give you lots of pictures of cheddar dogs from around that. And I will take a picture of every single second story wood balcony I see. Okay.
Sounds
Hang in
good.
there.
And we will also, I will also get you good pictures of it too.
Great. Have a good night. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And special thanks, Virginia.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you. How do I get off? I don't know how to get off.
Stop video.
I'm going to pretty quickly jump into the next one. So the next application is a certificate of appropriateness application for 317 Mitchell Street. Applicant Ann Burton is requesting to paint the exterior and stain the front exposed brick of the dwelling and remove one mature willow tree, pin 9874, tack 17, tack 7907. Do any of the commissioners have a conflict of interest or bias? Okay, hearing none, I'll swear in the applicant and staff. Stephanie, do you promise to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, and actually for a public hearing, you only need to you only
No, you're
need
still
to
swearing
swear
in.
staff one time during the meeting. But
Great.
the applicants, you need to swear in.
Of course, of course. Ms. Burton, are you on?
Yes,
Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
yes.
And will the person sitting beside you be?
Yes, I'm Charles.
It's my husband, Charles.
Hello.
I do.
You do. Great. Thank you. Can we get a staff report?
Of course. I'll try to speak a little bit louder and get a little bit closer to the mic. Alrighty, so this is a one-story side gable ranch house, is 4 bays wide and double pile with a projecting front gabled brick veneered bay centered on the facade. The house is plain weatherboards, 2/2 horizontal pane wood sash windows, generally grouped, and an interior brick chimney. The entrance, a solid wood door with 3 lights, is located on the right north elevation of the front gabled bay, which has a wide 2/2 window flanked by narrower windows and has diagonally applied wood siding to end gable. There is an inset porch at the right rear northwest that has been enclosed with glass. The county tax records date the building to 1954. The proposal is requesting to paint the exterior and stain the front exposed brick of the dwelling and remove one mature willow tree. The application materials is in the packet include a project narrative, the proposed materials, additional historic information, and rationale for the proposal. Applicable design standards are masonry, wood, paint and exterior color, site features, and plantings.
Thanks, Tyler. Let me see. So can we next hear from the applicants? Anything you'd like to add to the staff report?
Other than the brick has no structural meaning, it's all for design aesthetics. That's really all I would have. Other than the tree in the back is when the arborist looked at it, he said it appeared to be healthy. However, it was somewhat deformed because it was growing under the canopy of a much larger willow oak tree. So it is growing grotesquely to one side. And unfortunately for us, or fortunately, whichever way you look at it, we're having a new house built on that side of the house. So the tree, if it should go down, is going to go down on a brand new garage that the Fair brothers, I believe, are building.
In the driveway.
Okay.
Well,
Thank
and
you.
one other thing my wife just pointed out, when they put the driveway into the new house, they cut away a good portion of the root structure of the tree because the drive is so close to where the tree is located. You can see the dumpster adjacent to it, and the drive cut away a significant part of the root structure.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying that. Is anyone on the meeting in support or opposition of this application? Not seeing
Yes.
anybody. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Yes, it's Joseph Griffin.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, please. Actually, I need to swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
And can we get your relation to the property or the application?
I live at 321 Mitchell Street, right next door to the property.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
I have no problems with the painting or taking out the tree of the one, because the trees are fairly unstable. I had one fall approximately a year ago. They just fell over. The trees were planted probably too close together originally. So I have no problems with any of the plans they have.
Okay, well, thank you for joining tonight and communicating that information. Anyone else here to speak in support or opposition to this application? All right, hearing no others. Tyler, could we get staff, anything you turned up in your staff review about the adherence to the standards for this application?
Of course, yes. When it comes to painting exposed brick that has not been previously painted, there, I believe in the masonry standards and in the paint and exterior, let me try to quote it, paint and exterior color, both of those sections state that it is not appropriate to paint or stain any exposed brick that has not been previously painted. And when it comes to the tree being removed, the arborist letter, this is the section that talks about the tree that is wanting to be removed. I would, since this can be a minor work done, there is more information that I would need based off the new standards that have been approved. I will need more information to make that approval on a minor work.
Okay.
But I believe that's everything on this.
Okay. Yep. Thanks for that. And I don't think we really need to go through profiles. There's not, I don't know if there's much to look at, but we can go around to the different commissioners. Virginia, do you want to kick us off with any questions or comments to the applicants and the witnesses?
Okay. I had to unmute. As I said, I wasn't expecting to be here, so I haven't got my citations together. I can, again, turning to my experience, tell you that there are a handful of painted brick houses in the district. They're usually, they date from between the wars and after World War II, and they tend to be the ones that are architecturally unremarkable, not to be negative, I'm just telling you. I believe that houses like this really can benefit greatly from some paint. Although it's important to remember that once you paint them, you'll be painting them forever and ever. It's also important to make sure, for the record, that houses of a certain age, considerably older than these houses, should not be painted if they are brick. There are very few all brick houses in the district that like predate 1900. But you'd hate to see the Berry brick house get painted. So yeah, that would be terrible. So I just wanted to throw that out. But again, I have to say that I am aware of that guideline that says don't paint brick that's never been painted before. And I have said the same thing in other situations just like this, that I think paint can be very helpful. So that's all.
Okay, Thanks for that. Tyler, what is that standard, if you don't mind? Do you have it handy?
Yeah, let me get to it real quick.
I actually found it in under masonry.
It's
It's
number
on-
5.
Yep, number 5.
Okay, Liz, since you spoke up, do you want to give your interpretation of the standards on this?
I mean, it's purely just, I just am reading the standard. It's not appropriate to paint, seal, or coat historic masonry surfaces not painted before. That's all I have to say. It's in our standards.
Okay, all right, thanks for that. And actually, Liz, do you have any issues with the tree going to being broken out of this application and being handled as a minor works?
No, I think that's a great idea, actually.
All right, Virginia, what about the tree with you? So you think that's okay?
Yeah, I agree with Liz. I think that minor work be fine.
Actually, if it's a minor work, I guess we don't even have to agree with that.
Yeah.
Tyler can just do it.
Could be.
Can we get your interpretation of the standards on this application as it pertains to the painting of the masonry?
Yeah, nothing else to add on my end. No other questions. I'm in line with what's been discussed so far.
Okay.
And Will, can I speak for just a second? When I was staff on the HDC for many years with Virginia as a staff member, there were at least 3 houses in the district that were previously unpainted brick houses. One just up the street on Cameron, and several and 2 on the west side. And they were all houses that dated to mid 20th century. And if I remember correctly, the guideline actually is the same. The standard that you use is the same verbiage as the old design guidelines for this one. And the way that the commission was approved those other houses being painted was they interpreted that brick was not historic. Now, I'm not saying one thing or another, but I will just share that same standard was in place when other houses of this same era were approved for being painted in the district.
Does the age and style of this house make it a contributing structure? Is that what they mean by historic here, or?
I think actually the commission was not talking about the contributing nature of the house. This one would be contributing, I believe, but they were instead talking about historic brick, historic masonry. So, and Virginia and actually Joe may have been a member if he's still on this call when we had these discussions. I can't, I'm speaking just from a memory, and the older I get, the harder it is for me to remember things. But I believe that the conversation, as Virginia alluded to, had to do with historic brick having a different quality than brick that was manufactured and used as a veneer in the mid 20th century.
Could it also be said that historic brick is actually the structural component of the house? Like you could take the brick facade off of this house and put back red brick again. You couldn't do that with the Berry house because you'd have to tear the whole thing down.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
I think that's one way to talk about it. I think some of those other houses that were painted, I'm not sure that it was veneer. I'd have to really dig into it to find out, but they were all, minimal traditional and ranch style houses, sort of a vernacular expression of minimal traditional and ranch houses.
Sure.
That, and also Virginia, do you remember the commission talking about how the history of ranches also includes painting oftentimes? That like if you look around in other districts in North Carolina, in historic districts, that ranches also have painted brick over time. Anyway, I'm rambling.
I think the bricks for these houses were mass produced. They weren't made in a pit in the yard of the house. like the bricks for my chimneys or for the courthouse. So, yeah, I think it was kind of a statement of affluence. If you could have both houses, both brick and painted, you got 2 times as much house power there.
So I guess I'm the only one that hasn't spoken on it. And, yeah, without a more clear definition of what historic masonry is, I just, the standard number 5 just seems pretty clear to me. And I've also passed by this house a couple times, and almost every other house on the block is also a red unpainted brick house. And so it would, looks like it would kind of be in conflict with the neighboring houses on the same block. So if no other commissioners have anything they want to discuss.
Excuse me, this is Joe Griffin. I'd like to comment on the brick again.
Yes, sir.
I was on the commission at the time we approved the other 3 houses, 2 of them on Margaret Lane, and they were painted white, and the looks after they were painted were 100% improvement. Plus, I have a solid brick house living next door to this house, and I have no problem with the bricks being painted over. It's just a little facade there. Thank you.
I mean, as a new commissioner, I felt like I kind of was sort of locked into what the guidelines stated, not really understanding what historic meant in the guidelines. And I think that would be great if that was clarified for us in the future. Because I feel like this could be a slippery slope if I don't know, I guess I would be interested in maybe knowing more of the rationale for painting the other ones, the language that was used. Or can we just say, I'm thinking out loud, I'm sorry.
I think what we did, sometimes in situations like this where there's one guideline that seems to be really clear, but then there's the reality of life in the historic district, which is not Williamsburg and is not supposed to be. We say, for the record, why we are doing what we're doing, even if it conflicts with the guidelines. So we take responsibility for that conflict and try to clarify why we are enacting it, if we do decide to do that. Getting it on the record is the key to the slippery slope question. At least that's my impression. Getting our thinking on the record.
It sounds like if we were to have a motion to approve this, we would need to clarify that it's based on the age of the house, the style of the house, and some past precedents that we feel it's consistent with that style and not being deemed historic brick, and therefore not incongruent with the guidelines. Is that essentially what I'm understanding?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yes, but also just be aware that you don't have to come to a unanimous decision, right? This is a democratic process. So if someone is comfortable after the discussion to make a motion, you make the motion, you guys each vote based on your interpretation of the standards. And if you have 3 out of 4 vote in favor of the motion passes. If you don't have 3, then the motion fails. And that's how this system is designed to be. You do not have to reach consensus.
Oh, so Virginia, you've seen some of the history, and sorry to keep going on about this, but so what keeps this also kind of gets to Liz's slippery slope. What keeps this from people pointing at this project and then going into like the business district and saying, I want to paint the businesses on Churton Street that are brick. I want to paint them a color now. Like,
may we say something?
Sure, go ahead, sir.
Just within the last year, there were apartment buildings on Tryon Street across from the Coleman Bernholtz law office that were approved to be painted a deep gray or stained, I'm sorry, a deep gray on the sides. The building looks fabulous, but
Yeah.
that, I mean, I realized that the standards, I think, changed September, but that's happened just in the last year.
Wasn't that old rest home on Churton? Wasn't that painted
No.
after it used to be
No.
brick?
No,
Well, I don't know about the rest home now, but the apartment building was within the last year, I think, wasn't it, Stephanie?
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the last year, because the last year has felt like about a decade to me, but but I can think of 3 residences of the same era that have been approved by the commission, but it was a struggle each time. It wasn't because of the standard not being clear. And it wasn't necessarily a unanimous decision. It is sort of a tricky situation, mostly because we have a district that has such variation in the style of houses, and what is appropriate at one place, isn't necessarily at another.
Well, and the other thing, this is just a small portion of this house. This is not an entire brick structure. It is just a, give or take, a 9 by 22 foot section
Sure.
facade.
Mhm.
and as you said, it in your description, historical or historic brick. And I think, as Virginia pointed out, everybody, this is obviously not historic brick. It is it's basically what pavers, and it just adds nothing to the
It's mass produced.
aesthetic appearance of the house. And it's, it's would be much better to protect the brick by painting it so that the rain and water, will not continue to seep through it and it cracks. So Virginia, is kind of like you said, once we paint it, we understand that we will be painting it, but we're going to also have to continue with, protecting the brick.
Well, we keep saying paint, but it's actually a
It's
stain.
stain the brick. I know, stain. We're painting the house and staining the brick. So,
But and if you do stain it, if that does pass, be sure you have all the bricks and the mortar
oh,
fixed to the best condition they can possibly be
right.
in.
Well, I'm reaching over to get the name. We were, we've done a lot of research, and we know that we need an acrylic urethane stain, and that would go on it, and then of course prepare it first, and then put the stain on it. And it comes out of I think Greenville, South Carolina, that we would be getting the stain through a company that specializes in this type of thing. And as far as the other houses in the neighborhood, I don't know if you're at liberty to say, but have other houses in the neighborhood applied or petitioned to stain the brick? I mean, just because the others haven't, I don't think should bear on what we choose to do. It's just
Okay,
I don't know.
Ms. Burton, I've been on a couple years. I don't remember other houses on your block, just to answer that question, but
Yeah.
nothing comes to mind. Let me check in real quick with Liz and Will. So does the discussion of how this standard's been applied over the years change your view on this at all? If Virginia can give us a motion justifying why it should happen, could you all get behind that, or are you still thinking not?
Oh, I could. I was purely going by the standard, but if it sounds like there's some precedent in town to go ahead and approve it.
Okay, thanks, Liz. Will, how about you?
Yeah, likewise, if the motion was sort of similar to what I roughly articulated earlier, I could support that.
All right, I'm the same. Will, would you like to do it, or Virginia, would you like to do it?
Well, I no longer have my make a motion script. So if Tyler can put one on the screen.
I think Will's probably got it queued up. You want to do it,
I'm
Will?
sorry.
No, you're fine. You weren't even supposed to be here tonight.
The trick is that I remember every detail, but I'll take a pass. I move that we find as fact that the application for 317 Mitchell Street is in keeping with the overall character of the historic district and complies with the relevant standards for masonry and paint an exterior color based on our discussion of the application and the standards of evaluation in section 3.12.3 of the UDO, based on the discussion of the age of the house, architectural style of the property, and precedents related to treatment of brick, which is deemed to be non-historic on past applications.
Nailed it. I second that.
You're good.
get-
I'm impressed.
Awesome.
Virginia, do you vote? How do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. Liz?
I vote aye.
Will Spoon votes aye. Will Center, how do you vote?
Aye.
Great. Thank you. So the finding of fact passes. I call for a motion to approve this application as submitted, and the tree work will be handled as a minor work. Can I get a second?
Second?
All right, Will seconded. Virginia, how do you vote?
Aye.
Liz?
Aye.
Will Spoon votes aye. The it passes. Thanks for your patience with us tonight, the Burtons, and good luck with your project.
Thank you all very much.
And
Thank
please
you.
follow up. Staff will follow up with you about
Yeah.
the tree.
Yeah,
All
good
right.
luck.
Thank
Right,
you.
Thank you. Feel better, everybody.
Thanks. All right, now we'll jump to, actually, can I make one thing real quick? Tyler, could you flag wherever you keep notes that maybe whenever we do our annual review of the standards that we've been encouraged to do, that we look at how we could get a definition around historic masonry, maybe change that. Like, I'm not telling you what to change now, but maybe we can either, if there is an accepted definition, or change that to
Yeah.
like hand formed or brick yard made or whatever is a better thing than historic, because obviously it's kind of murky for people who've been here
Yes,
even for a
yes.
while now.
Totally agree. It can be very, very broad.
Okay, nice. So this next application is a certificate of appropriateness application for 219 North Hassel Street. Applicant Susan Overton is requesting to replace the gravel driveway with concrete and replace the walkway with concrete pavers and pea gravel. The applicant is also proposing a 280 square foot rear patio with concrete pavers and pea gravel, pin 9864, tack 87, tack 4481. Do any of the commissioners have a conflict of interest or bias on this one? I personally live across the street, so because there's a street in between us, I don't technically share a property boundary. And I talked to staff earlier, and they said that I technically don't meet a definition of having a conflict, and I feel I can be impartial on this application. So I need to swear in the applicant, Susan Overton. Could you get unmuted and tell me that you'll agree to tell the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
Great. And are you the only one? Is someone else helping you represent this tonight?
No, just me.
Okay, perfect. Can we get a staff report, Tyler?
Yes, yes. This is a one-story sided gable, minimal traditional style house. Is 3 bays wide and double pile with a projecting front gabled bay on the left, south end of the facade. The house has a brick veneer exterior brick chimney on the right north elevation and has vinyl windows. A picture window on the right end of the facade replaces a pair of original windows but retains the original opening. The replacement front door is sheltered by an engaged shed roof porch supported by decorative metal post with a metal railing. An attached shed roof brick garage at the right rear northwest of the open vehicular bay that is sheltered by an aluminum awning. County tax records date this building to 1946. The proposal is to replace a gravel driveway to concrete, replace her walkway with concrete pavers and pea gravel. The applicant is also proposing a rear patio with concrete pavers and pea gravel. Application materials, the packet includes a project narrative, proposed materials, site plan, and elevations showing existing proposed conditions, the standards, walkways, driveways, and off-street parking, decks, site feature, and plantings.
Great, thanks, Tyler. Can you remind me, you told me at one point, what was the reason this even had to come before us? You said most of it could have been minor works except for something. What was the one thing?
The driveway, technically because the driveway is changing its materials, we have to go through a commission approval for the driveway. But everything else, patio, in the front sidewalk, technically those things are minor works because of the size of the patio being, I think it's below 300 or 400 square feet. And same thing for the front sidewalk. The driveway is technically the only thing that we are looking at.
May I interject for a second, just to clarify? So there's a fee for minor work. So oftentimes if you guys get an application that includes things that could be minor works, we just move it all to the COA for the board if they're coming anyway, because then they only have to pay the fee one time. So just so you understand why you may sometimes see something that you're like, well, this is minor work, staff could do it. Well, yeah, but then there's another fee. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know that.
Oh, that's a great point. I hadn't thought about that. And yeah, I wasn't saying Tyler messed this one up, but I knew it was just barely even needing to come before us. And the concrete obviously meets the materials matrix, so it's an approved material for a driveway. So all we need to do right now is decide if actually. So do we have any testimony in support or opposition? Anyone join the call? All right, not seeing anybody. So we can open up to questions. I don't have any. Liz, do you have any questions?
I mean, I think since I'm a new commissioner, I'm really a stickler, and it's just that I found in the compatibility matrix that driveways are supposed to match existing, but I don't have any stake in that decision other than setting precedent for future requests for driveway changes.
Can you give us that standard citation, and maybe Tyler can pull it up so we can all look at it real quick?
Sorry, I found it in the compatibility matrix. It was just I don't even have it in front of me. I'm sorry. Just saying that it's under driveways and walkways.
Got it pulled up. Yeah.
It should match the original is what I found.
Yeah, you've looked at it closer than I have. I've just seen so many of these people change out from asphalt to brick and gravel to concrete. I just assumed it was okay, but can someone pull up that?
Yeah, I've got it. And it looks like when you guys redid the design standards, you added language in the column that says check mark match existing / original. That language was not there in the design guidelines, the previous design guidelines. So since I wasn't a part of those conversations for the change, then, and of course, Tyler wasn't here either. I'm not sure that we can comment on why that change would have been made. There are many driveways that have changed to a hardscaped material in town, oftentimes for the same reason of just, a stable surface.
Yeah. Okay. And sorry, Susan, did I ask you if you had anything to add to the staff report? I think I skipped you.
That's okay. I do not. Happy to answer any questions you all have, but nothing to add.
Okay. Will, can we get your thoughts on this application?
Yeah, and just I'm not sure you swore Susan in either if she does have to comment and all, but just there were three little things that I just wanted to clarify. I guess one, Tyler mentioned, I didn't see in the actual application, I apologize if I missed it, the patio material. I saw the note was to match existing. There was a picture, they look like concrete pavers. Tyler, you called them concrete pavers. I assume that's correct, that those are concrete pavers.
Yeah, yes, and that's my mistake, that I didn't put it in there. I had a conversation with Susan, and she confirmed like it's going to be what is proposed on these pictures.
Okay. And then the driveway was going to be natural color, plain concrete, not tinted or stamped or anything like
Yep.
that. It was just regular concrete.
Yep.
The only other thing that I noticed that I set a question on the site plan, if you, stop right there. The existing shed has an X over it and says remove. Is that part of the application? And it wasn't referenced anywhere in the narrative. I just happened to notice it on the site plan. I wasn't sure what was up with that.
Is that for me, Will?
I guess so, yeah.
So that has been,
Hold on.
okay,
Will.
Sorry, Susan, I need to swear you in.
You do.
Do you promise to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
I'm good to comment on that now.
Yes,
That
ma'am.
shed has actually been removed. It had mold in it, and the foundation was deteriorating. I had it removed. So if
Okay.
I have to ask forgiveness, I'll have to ask forgiveness.
Do you have any idea of the age of the structure? Was it prefab or was it?
It's prefab. I'm gonna guess. So I know the previous owners didn't put that in, and the woman who owned this house before that had been here for 20 years. I'm gonna guess she put it in at some point.
Okay, Tyler, Stephanie, how do we need to do anything with that?
I'll look in the file to see if there is a permit or any COA about that, and I'll reach back out to Susan if there is anything that she needs to do.
Okay, thanks for clearing that up, Susan. And Will, did you have other questions on the application?
No, those are my only questions.
Okay, Virginia, do you have anything?
So for the walk, the illustration, I think, has proposed walkway. It has those squares with, it looks like gravel in between. Is that the plan, or is it just going to be squares with
No, actually, my plan is not to put pea gravel in the front there, but to have grass, some grass in between the pavers. And I'm only gonna do one paver wide and probably do more like squares
Okay.
with grass in between.
Well, I was just thinking that the grass in between might be hard if you have mobility issues.
But I really don't like the look of the pea gravel.
Well, that would be hard too. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. I wanted to clarify the idea there.
Thank you.
Tyler, do we have enough to go on with this image to approve this, or could this, if she wants to slightly tweak the number of pavers this thing is wide and the material in between, is that something you can handle as minor work?
Yes, yes, technically, yes.
Okay. All right. Any other commissioners have any questions on this one? All right, hearing none. I'm not hearing any strong opposition to this application as proposed. So I'll go ahead and do this one. I move that we find as a fact that the Overton application is in keeping with the overall character of the historic district and complies with all relevant standards of evaluation based on our discussion of the application and the standards of evaluation in section 3.12.3 of the Unified Development Ordinance, because the plans are consistent with guidelines, driveways, patios, pavers, and
Safety considerations.
safety considerations. Yep. And can I get a second?
Second.
Great. I vote aye. Liz, how do you vote?
Aye, but can we flag that compatibility matrix bit?
Yes, yeah, I'll do that. I'll put a note on that.
Thank you.
Liz, do you want that incorporated as a condition somehow? Or is it okay that Tyler just follows up?
No, I don't need it to be a condition. I'm just looking towards future requests, but it sounds like driveways change all the time, which I'm totally good with. It's just that our compatibility matrix doesn't say that.
Okay, yeah, so we'll note that as a thing we look at clearing up or clarifying whenever we do the annual review of the standards. Virginia, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Okay, and Will, how do you vote?
Aye.
Great, thank you. I move to approve the application as submitted with no conditions. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, I vote aye. Will Center, how do you vote?
Aye.
Liz,
Aye.
Virginia?
Aye.
All right, the application's approved, and Susan, please follow up with Tyler about the minor tweaks of the number of pavers.
I will.
And
Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks.
All right. So we'll jump next to let me see. So the next application is a certificate of appropriateness application for 328 Mitchell Street. Applicant Cooper Prudence and Mullins Jobeth are requesting to construct a 210 square foot rear addition and a 38 square foot rear entry, 140 square foot screen porch, and enlarge an existing bathroom and laundry area to approximately 140 square foot. Pin 9874, TAC 18, TAC 9223. Do any of the commissioners have a conflict of interest or bias as it relates to this application? Okay. Hearing none, I'll go ahead and swear in the applicants and any representatives. Who do we have representing this application tonight? So we got David. Are you the only one, Dave?
Prue is here, but I don't know if she's, well, I don't know where she went. But
I see her. Okay.
there's Prue. I don't know if she's.
I'm here.
So David, do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. And Prue, do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Great. Can we get staff report?
Of course. This one-story sided gable minimal traditional style house is 4 bays wide and double piled, with the right south bay receded slightly under a lower roof line. The house has German profile weatherboards, vinyl windows, an interior brick chimney, and an exterior brick chimney on the right gable end. The 6 light over 2-panel craftsman style door is sheltered by a small front gabled porch supported by slender square columns, and there are exposed rafter tails throughout. There is a small side gable wing on the left north elevation and a gable ell at the left rear northeast with an uncovered wood deck to its right south. County tax records date the building to 1940. The applicant is proposing and requesting to construct a 210 square foot rear addition and a 38 square foot rear entry, 140 square foot screened porch, and enlarged existing bathroom and laundry area to approximately 140 square feet. Materials packet includes a project narrative with photos of the existing house, proposed materials, site plan, and elevations showing existing and proposed conditions for the proposed project. The standards: addition to residential buildings, decks, windows, and roof.
Thanks, Tyler. Prue or David, do you have anything to add to the staff report or anything you'd like to bring up about this application?
I don't have anything. at this time.
No, I don't either.
Okay. I'm not seeing anyone else that's joined, but we'll give a quick second. Is anyone here in support or opposition of this application? Right, hearing none, seeing none. Let's go through the profiles and we'll open it up to questions from the commissioners, to the applicants and the witnesses.
Righty. Here's a north view. This is the south of the property looking north. View 2, south of the house looking north. This is where the addition is going to be at. View of the rear of the house looking west. Here's the existing materials and proposed materials. We'll back out a little bit. All right. Expansion, dining room and screen porch. Here's the roof plan. Existing, proposed, new. That's the south elevation. This is what's being proposed new, the screen porch. This is all going to be new. This is new here. This is the Kane Street. This is at the corner of the lot and widening it out. So that's it.
All right, I'll open it up to each commissioner to point us back towards any profiles you want to look at more. Actually, first, Tyler, did you, in your staff review, did you find anything that was in conflict with the standards that you want to bring to our attention?
No, the only thing that that was of note to me, which is up to the commission to decide, is that the screened-in porch will be extending out, so it can be seen on the front from the property, which is listed in the narrative. There is a white picket fence that kind of covers that up, but in the standards, they would like to see plantings around the framing of like a screened-in porch or something. But again, there is a white picket fence at the front of the property where you would have to get fairly pretty close to the property to see that there is no planting there. But David or Prue may say that that actually is part of their plan. So, but that's the only thing.
I would say that if you look at the page 2, which shows the picket fence, it also shows a tree that's been planted right there, which would be screening the screen porch.
This, yes, there, and that is actually that brings up another question. I'm assuming how you're speaking that that tree will not be removed based off of any type of addition.
That is correct, because the screen porch comes no closer than that gutter to the right of the tree. Yeah, that's where the closest the screen porch comes towards Mitchell Street. So it's set back almost in an entire house width from the street. So, and it does have that tree as screening.
All right. Liz, you look like you're ready to bring up some points. What you got?
I actually don't have much to say. I found, the materials that you provided for us really thorough, and I don't have any big thing, except I seem to be a stickler for details in that when I was looking at the compatibility matrix, there were 2 things that popped up as case-by-case scenarios. One was for the columns being made out of fiberglass, and the door for the dining room was a fiberglass door. So I guess I'd just be curious to hear why you were thinking fiberglass over wood.
Well, my understanding, we previously had these fiberglass columns have been approved, and doors, if they were not on the front of the structure, and it's purely a maintenance issue.
Okay. I can get behind that. It just popped out at me.
Thanks.
On that point, I'd be curious if staff could comment maybe on the nuance that because this porch is visible from the primary elevation of the house, if there's any precedent to how we've handled that. I imagine a lot of the past porches that may have had fiberglass columns may have been more back applications, as you know, that weren't as visible from the street. Is there anything, Stephanie or Tyler? I realize you don't have much history there, but Stephanie, anything you could add there?
Will Spoon may be better in Virginia equipped to answer this because I haven't staffed the committee in more than 5 years, but
The price
anyway,
application.
it may have changed at some point, but it used to be that fiberglass was an appropriate material for these uses because it was a paintable material.
Yeah, the price application that was just approved on, which faces North Churton Street, had fiberglass columns approved by the commission, which was in October, I believe.
Yeah. I think the fiberglass is just, it might be heresy to say, but it just has so much better maintenance future to it. It's hard to deny that. And if it's paintable, you know,
It's smooth,
great.
so it doesn't look like it's mimicking wood. So
it's
I
not
think
fake
one
wood.
of the reasons that it's called out as a case by case in your matrix is just to remind you guys to ask about seams too. I know that there have been
Yeah.
times in the past where the seams weren't covered and then the homeowner had to go back and do that work. So that may also be part of the reason why it's treated a little differently.
yeah, Jill, you always used to ask that question.
They still make them with seams.
Yeah, not that I know. I'm sure they do, but
Yeah.
we would never propose that.
Liz, does that wrap up your cross-examination of these witnesses? Okay, cool. And Virginia, you're already starting your cross-examination, so do you want to
I'm
continue?
sorry. Here's my burning question of the evening for David. What the heck is German siding?
It's called Dutch lap is another name.
Okay.
It was something that was very popular, in the 40s, 30s,
Okay.
40s, 50s.
It's just I have to look it up in a big fat reference book, or I could just ask you. And I know you know. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Got anything else, Virginia?
I don't think so. Ill
Okay.
prepared.
Hey, that was a good thing to bring up on short notice. Will, you got anything? Will Center?
No, I think just the the interpretation that even though this is a corner lot and there's an elevation on Kane Street on the street, we're not deeming that a character defining elevation. Obviously, looking at the property, and therefore the relocating of windows isn't in conflict with the guidelines. We do have the one window that we're changing size on the primary elevation. So I am sort of assuming that our interpretation there is that by making that consistent with the balance of the architecture of the property, we're finding that consistent with the guidelines as well, even though there's language about not modifying windows on a primary character defining elevation. So I don't have any issue with those based on that interpretation. The only other sort of picky nuance, just to clarify, in the material list, David, I think the windows were listed as aluminum clad. I wanted to confirm those were aluminum clad wood windows as opposed to like aluminum clad vinyl, since that's what's listed in the compatibility matrix.
Yes, that is correct.
That's it for me.
Okay, great. And the only thing I had, and Tyler, I emailed you about this, but I saw that the lighting is pulled out and separated to a minor works or a routine maintenance, whatever it's called now. And in a lot of cases that helps simplify an application, but in this situation, it helps me get a full picture of what's really going on, because lighting's an important part of an overall plan. So can we see what that lighting plan is? Can you send that to the commissioners to review and approve when that comes in?
Hold up. Do you mean send it to a meeting?
No, like Justin used to send it out and say, hey, not everyone reply.
We cannot do that. That is not acceptable. I'm sorry.
Justin did it for 2 years.
I know it's not acceptable. If it can be minor work approved by staff, then staff can approve it. Otherwise, it needs to occur as a COA and come to the commission and be open for public testimony and cross-examination.
And there's nothing in the standards about breaking apart applications and how that could cause problems about the HTC giving their interpretation of the standards if we don't get the full picture because it's taken in different pieces.
I didn't think we were proposing any lighting.
I saw in the application that they'd be, the lighting plan would be submitted for as a minor works.
That's the next application.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah, you're good. That's the next application.
Yeah, I don't remember typing that.
But just to be clear, there are a lot of times where people have plans that are ready, but they don't exactly know what light fixtures they're going to choose yet. And so rather than make a decision and then go back on it later, there's lots of times where a COA application comes to the board for the overall plan. And then once the fixtures are selected, they're just submitted to staff to make sure that they meet the materials compatibility of light fixtures.
Sure, and I was more than fixtures thinking about locations, heights, things like that that could affect neighbors and.
But the amount of light does not fall in the purview of.
I know brightness doesn't, but location in the profiles does. But not this application anyway. So I've got nothing. Can I get someone to offer a finding of fact on this one? It sounds like there aren't any other questions. And I'm hearing no strong opposition to approving this as proposed. So can anyone do this one? Going once. All right. Will unmuted. Go ahead, Will.
I can give it a go.
Oh, go ahead, Liz.
All right. I move that we find as a fact that the application at 328 Mitchell Street is in keeping with the overall character of the historic district and complies with all relevant standards of evaluation based on our discussion of the application and the standards of evaluation in section 3.12.3 of the Unified Development Ordinance. The plan, because these plans are consistent with design guidelines for dining room addition, rear entry, screened porch. I think there's another one. Anybody?
Would it be addition to residential buildings, decks, windows, and roofs?
Yes. Thank you.
Second. Can we get, how do you vote, Will?
Aye.
How do you vote, Virginia?
Aye.
How do you vote, Liz?
Aye.
Will Spoon votes aye. Go ahead.
I move to approve the application as submitted.
Second.
All right. How do you vote, Virginia?
Aye.
Will Spoon votes aye. How do you vote, Liz?
Aye.
How do you vote, Will Sooner?
Aye.
All right. So approved as submitted. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. David
Good luck
Cates.
to your project.
Yeah. Thank you, David Cates.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
All right, jump on to our last one. So this is a application for a certificate of appropriateness application for 310 North Cameron Street. Applicant Diane Eklund is requesting to add a 780 square foot addition to the rear of the dwelling and build a roof over the front stoop and build a 720 square foot garage in the rear of the lot. Are there any conflicts of interest or bias on the commission? All right, can I go ahead and swear you in, Ms. Eklund or Diane?
Yes, thank you.
All right, do you promise to tell the truth and the whole truth?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Tyler, can we get the staff report, please?
Of course. This one-story side gable brick ranch house has colonial revival details. The house is 4 bays wide and double piled with vinyl windows, an interior brick chimney and an exterior chimney on the left north elevation. Colonial revival details include a delineated cornice at the roof line and fluted pilasters at the windows. There is a gable screen porch on the left elevation and a small vinyl-sided gabled wing on the right south elevation. May be enclosed porch. County tax records date this building at 1957. The applicant is requesting a 780 square foot addition to the rear of the dwelling and build a roof over the front stoop and build a 720 square foot garage in the rear of the lot. Materials, the packet includes a project narrative with photos of existing house, proposed material, site plan, elevation showing existing and proposed conditions for the proposed project. The design standards, addition to residential buildings, porches, entrances and balconies, windows, new construction of outbuildings and garages.
Thanks, Tyler. And Diane, do you have anything you'd like to add to what staff said on your application?
Not at this point, thank you.
Sure. And I don't see anyone else that's joined to speak in support or opposition, but David is here. David, go ahead. Actually, you're still sworn in. Is he still sworn in, Stephanie? All right. Yeah, you're still sworn
I'll
in.
answer that. Yes, yes.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yes, I was retained by the Swaneys who live at 308 North Cameron to represent them with some comments that they had. And I've submitted those to Tyler at whichever point it's appropriate for me to share. I assume at some point that'd be appropriate for me to share those.
Yeah, it's I have them pulled up if you want me to pull those, like let you go through that, or either or, whichever.
Sure, this is a good time.
Okay, one more, resume, here we go. So I have both of them up. Did you want
That
me to
one is not, the second one is not relative. That was for the previous.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Thank you. So essentially the property owners to the south, Gene and Walt, had 3 comments they wanted me to represent. And one of the first ones had to do with the massing and the scale of the addition. And what I've shown here is I did essentially take the area of the elevation of the proposed portion as compared to the area of the existing portion. And in the design standards, and I hate to read it verbatim, but it just says additions should be subordinate to the primary building. It should not compete in size, scale, or design. Consider compatibility for the height, roof form, scale, massing, surface, materials, details, and proportion. And then on page 89, it states, minimize the size, scale, and height to not visually overpower the primary building. And, you know, what I'm showing below is that from the property to the south, the addition is substantially bigger than the existing house. So that is, you know, one comment that they wanted me to convey. The next comment is—
Everybody mute, please, other than David.
Pardon me?
Can everyone mute except for David, please? Thank you.
The second comment is in regards to screening. On page 99, it states screen new off-street parking areas in residential and commercial areas of the district from view and minimize their visual impact on adjacent properties through the use of perimeter plantings, fences, walls, and hedges. You know, currently the existing driveway / parking areas in the front. The proposed is going to extend that down along the property line and into the backyard. And so, you know, per the design standards, the homeowners feel it's appropriate to request some type of evergreen screening. I guess it doesn't have to be evergreen screening, but my opinion has always been that fences look best on the day they're installed and they only go downhill from there, whereas evergreen plantings only continue to look better as they age for the most part, at least up to some point. So, so anyway, that's what this little diagram is showing, is just, as you can see, the two properties, if you've done your site visit, you can see that they're fairly open between the two properties. And currently, the property to the south doesn't have any adjacent parking from 310 North Cameron. The last comment, I'm not sure that it's really in the purview of the Historic District Commission. I'm not sure how this, they just felt like it's something that needed to be identified as an issue, as a problem. And essentially, it's, as you can see, the water that's flowing down and into their carport is essentially just to the south of where the new garage is going to be built. And as an engineer, the new impervious area that's going to be created by the rooftop and the new driveway is going to increase the runoff. And as you know, we're submitting evidence to show that there's an existing problem. So what is being proposed is going to exacerbate the problem for the homeowners. And so we're just, we're identifying this as an issue, and, would hope to think that there would be some commitment to somehow do with grading and piping to try and manage this additional runoff so that it's not creating more problem.
I'll just say that you're right, that it's not in the purview of the HDC to deal with this problem, but it's probably good to just have the homeowners that you're representing reach out to Diane and let them deal directly amongst themselves.
Okay.
With that issue.
Yeah, I didn't know where this would fall, but thanks.
Can I respond to these concerns?
Yes, this is a good time for that.
Okay, great. So first of all, the addition is not larger than the main structure. As you can see on the site plan, the main structure is 1,200 square feet. The proposed addition is 762. So it's not larger. We made, quite a bit of effort to try to keep it from overwhelming the main structure, particularly, and it's pretty much out of view from the street. This is why we've tried to capture some of the existing space in the second floor of the main structure. As far as the driveway and a garage, both sides have their own garages, and there's no fencing or any kind of landscaping between the two houses when they're for their garage. If you look at their garage, obviously it's got water issues, which some of that is mandated from their own garage. But certainly, we make every effort to work with neighbors. And if there's certainly an existing issue, we're certainly going to make every issue not to add to that. 40 years of doing this, that's how we do, that's how we do work. And, we try to work with our neighbors in any way possible. Thank you.
I just need to clarify that what I'm submitting for my comment number 1 is not, we're not implying that the square footage from a, like from an aerial view, we're not stating that that's, we're not stating there's any problem there. We're just stating from a massing standpoint, which is what we are documenting here. It's a different kind of square footage. It's a square footage.
It's a massing, but it's not.
Just let me finish. This is massing from a visual standpoint from the south, not from where what you were just talking about is square footage from looking down. So there's a difference because that's a massing area. So anyway, I just wanted to.
Sure there is, because you're looking from a side view, but as far as height and elevation and all that, it's not overpowering the main house. But certainly from the side, when you're used to looking at 30 square feet on a side and you add an addition, that's always going to be the case when you add an addition. This house is only 1 bath, 2 bedrooms with a small living area. It's not, especially for this time, for the area and where it is, it doesn't fit today's families or any family to have that size. So.
I think we have a pretty clear understanding of both of your positions on the comments from the neighbors. So thank you for bringing those, David, and Diane, thank you for your feedback on them. Tyler, when you did your staff review, what did you find as far as adherence to the standards for this application?
Yeah, one of the major things that, and it's more of a confirmation that I'll need from Diane on this, is that I was talking to our senior planner when it came to the zoning requirements of the proposed garage. This is a non-conforming lot, and that being said, that it does have a little bit of leniency when it comes to setbacks. Where they are proposing the garage as of now meets the standards of setbacks. But that would also mean on the northern property line, I'll show here, that there would be an increase of a setback of 30 feet, which Diane would basically have to just confirm on here, like, yes, that's fine. Basically kind of solidifying this lot of having a 10-foot south setback and a 30-foot north setback in the future for any future development on this piece of property. But that was really kind of my only concern about that.
Tyler, I just have one comment or question, is that if this proposed garage was ever proposed as a accessory dwelling unit, it would not be able to comply, or would it? Because my understanding is that accessory dwelling units have to meet the setbacks.
Yes, you're correct on that. If that's what the future of that is, I don't know if the application proposed that. We're looking straight as
right.
Yeah. I got you.
I just want to make.
But just to be clear, ordinances change all the time. So just because it may not meet the standard now, doesn't mean it won't meet a setback if that setback changes in the future. I don't want to give a false sense. These types of measurements often change over time.
Yeah, I just wanted to make everybody aware, because this happened to us, and then we had to buy property from our neighbor so that we could convert it to an accessory dwelling unit. So I just want to make sure everybody knew about it.
Tyler, it's way down in the weeds. I'm just curious, is this setback change documented on an updated plat, or is this just memorialized here in this meeting? Or
Very, very good question. Actually, Tom and I were kind of wondering how would we really solidify that this is the setback, and we were kind of going over that. But what we were thinking as of the process would be right now is that's why I wanted to kind of get confirmation from Diane on this, is that if she's willing to do that, that's kind of testimony of we have it in evidence that this is the setback. I can put that in an approval letter or whatever it may be, and we go from there, as in we have it in writing. This is your setbacks. This is what you have to go off of when you are planning on getting a building permit through Orange County.
Actually, the appropriate place for that to occur is on the zoning permit
Form.
On the zoning permit form, there's a box that says existing setbacks and proposed setbacks, and you have to fill out the proposed setback section. It's not appropriate for setbacks to be something that's determined by the HDC.
yeah, that's what I was getting at, Stephanie. I was like, are we wandering into a minefield here? So no, it's really anything for us to be concerned with, or is it?
I guess it depends. If I guess Stephanie will cut in, is like it is if you're wanting to know if it meets zoning compliance issues.
No, that zoning compliance check is just to make sure that things aren't slipping through the cracks and getting approved that shouldn't be approved. But the actual check of zoning compliance happens during the zoning permitting process, and all of those measurements can be reported on the zoning permit. Yep.
Yeah, and I should have made that more clear. I'm sorry, Stephanie, but that's exactly what it is. That will happen. We're not setting the setbacks here, but it's basically something to have, as in a zoning official. That could be Tom, that could be myself, or the other planning tech that we have, is that we would like to have that somehow spoken somewhere, but we are not stating what the setbacks are. But Diane left and came back in, so just she's now hearing probably this now.
Sorry, my computer died.
You're fine. But yeah, that's really the only issue that I saw going over this, is just setback information of going over with the planner to Tom, is that as of right now, this is fine of how you're proposing the garage. 10 feet is allowed. It's just the additional footage would be acquired on the northern property line, which Tom suggested that was understood when you were proposing the garage 10 feet from the property line.
This is not something the HTC needs to worry about. So I think that we should move off of this topic, because setbacks are determined during zoning compliance.
Sounds good to me. But thanks for flagging it, Tyler. I mean, it's better to err on the side of bringing more up than less. We don't want something to slip up on us. So let's go around to the different commissioners to get their questions, and we can start with Liz, if that's all right.
Sure, I don't have any questions on this one.
All right, Virginia. Actually, she's gone somewhere. Will, you want to go ahead?
Sure. Yeah, I just had a couple things. I certainly understand the comment David raised from the neighbors and regarding the massing. I was looking at the standards for additions to residential buildings, and item 7 references keeping the addition height lower and width narrower than the original house. Clearly the width is narrower, but it appears the height is the same as the existing house. And I can see how that would lead to the neighbors. If you go to the new elevation down a couple, I can see how that would make it less clear that the addition is subordinate to the original structure from that side elevation. Also noticed the reference to removal of the chimney. It looked like in my reading of the standards on roofs, there was reference to it being potentially okay to remove secondary chimneys when they're not visible from the street. But certainly this secondary chimney is visible from the street. So I wasn't sure sort of where we would stand on that piece.
I looked at it as it's non-functional. It's a non-functional chimney. So it's basically there for aesthetic.
So that in past precedents or in the interpretation of the guidelines makes it okay to remove it.
That's how I'm reading it.
Okay. On the siding, just wanted to confirm the fiber cement was smooth side out. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. The trim and siding and window paint colors, I assume, would all either match the existing or be submitted to staff as minor works.
Correct.
And is it accurate that all the materials listed would apply for both the addition and the garage?
Yes.
Okay. And then specific to the front porch, sorry, I'm flipping between pages of the standards here just to make sure I'm citing the right thing, but new front porches, I believe the intent of the standards was that they would be built so they could be removable, potentially if necessary. Is that consistent with the approach here in construction?
There's an existing stoop there. It's just putting a roof over it.
So the roof structure is being built as to be removable if so desired later.
I mean, it could be removed, yes, since it's being added. I'm not aware of that particular standard, but I mean, we're not changing anything on the original roof structure. We're just adding to it. So yes, I guess technically it could be removed.
I think the only other thing that I noted and just wanted to clarify, in looking at the plan, Tyler, it would be, I think, 2 pages up from where you are now, that has the existing main floor plan and the new main floor plan. It looks like the existing air conditioner unit that's sitting behind the house is probably getting relocated as a result of the addition based on where it's shown currently. I just wanted to confirm where that was getting relocated to and if it was going to be visible from the street, that it would be screened appropriately.
No, it will still be behind the structure.
Just moved to the left.
The left side, yes.
Okay.
I thought it was on the site plan, but yes.
It was just a little hard to zoom in enough to read the note on the site plan.
Yeah, it would be on the left, so it would be screened from the front.
Okay, I think those were all my questions or clarifications, Will.
All right, thanks, Will. I'll go ahead. Tyler, sorry, I'm trying to get on my checklist and everything, so I'm not in the standards as much as I should be, but I'm just remembering from 2 previous applications that a ranch house, just like very similar to this one, they found adding this front stoop was not appropriate, and I can't remember what the standard was, and you weren't there either, but
yeah, and with the decision on the stoop, what I did was basically go on at least the east side of Churton. It went up and down each block, and the ranch houses there's a lot more ranch houses on the east side than there are the west side of the historic district, and most of them have some type of front porch stoop or something like that. So how I'm leaning here is that it is compatible and that's how I was saying it's compatible with the other ranch houses in the district.
I think the two applications I'm thinking of are on Margaret Lane and on the west side of Churton. So maybe that's the difference. Maybe those don't have as many stoops as, sorry, as east side of Churton.
I've personally put roofs over probably 6 stoops in Hillsborough on the historic district, including the director of planning stoop.
Okay.
So I'm just saying.
No, I'm just going off of those.
One was right behind the other one was behind the Colonial Inn. Again, it was a ranch style.
Okay.
And
And so Tyler, it's good to hear your thinking, and Diane, it's good to hear your backstory as a architect, designer, and or builder. I'm not sure what you do, but
everything.
a little bit of everything. And also the screening of the new driveway that the neighbors brought up. I remember some recent applications where we definitely required screening of a new driveway for a new construction, but is there a differentiation since this is a
Existing.
driveway at an existing structure or something, or how is this okay to not have screening?
Driveway is new. This
No, it's extended.
So this is kind of a judgment call, maybe, Tyler?
Yeah, that's what I was going to cut in and say. This is a total judgment call. Because we had the application, I can't remember the exact address, but it was like, I think the one we just had a conversation with the Burtons, their new construction. If I can recall correctly, I don't believe, and again, I'm having to go off a very recent history of what has been, signed off and approved on, is that I don't believe they have any buffering between their new driveway and the existing home that's to the north. And that may be because they own both properties, but that's the only example that I have to go off of as of right now, is that new construction.
Okay.
No, I don't believe that's. I'm trying to look back because that was one of my projects. Let's see. And I
We
know,
flash this.
I know
Can we look at the
that
standards real quick, Tyler, so we just know, so we're real clear on what we're interpreting.
It's page 99 of the PDF. I was just looking at it.
Page 99, thank you.
The existing driveways are literally a foot between each other. So I'm not sure how you're going to get plantings between them. That's just.
there's 14 feet according to the site plan. If the driveway, you could plant it, you could make the driveway smaller to provide that amount of space.
You can't between the driveways and the house. There's not that much space.
The difference is basically, if you're going to be looking at the two different words here that's being thrown around, is new and existing. So if you are considering this a new driveway, or if you're considering this an existing driveway that's being extended, or a new driveway, that's where the standard is. That's how you want to look at the standard, because that's how the standard reads it. New walkway, driveway, it is compatible with, you need to put screening in, but that's going to be up for, that's something I guess the commission decides on, if this is a new or existing, unfortunately.
So the exact language from standard 11, is that the one we're talking about, Wilson?
Yes, that's what I'm
Tyler. So yes, screen new off-street parking areas in residential and commercial areas of the district from view, and minimize their visual impact on adjacent properties through the use of perimeter plantings, fences, walls, or hedges. So screen new off-street parking areas.
Yeah, so you could just screen the new section.
Yeah.
Even if it required.
Conceivably, but there's a beautiful tree that I would be competing upon. The best tree in the whole neighbor's yard. I don't know if there's a picture of it.
Between,
there it is, right there. That beautiful, I think it's a dogwood even.
Well, could you make the new section?
That's what I'm talking about. That's where you see.
I
the
know,
telephone
but
pole?
can you make it hang toward the left a little bit more or be narrower as it approaches the garage in some way?
Well, it curves in a little bit because of the telephone pole. So, but you couldn't really do, I mean, you could, they already have a screening there, so a fence wouldn't be any different than what's there.
It doesn't really count if the property owner has screening. I mean, I've had to answer this question from your side. It has to be this project's screening. You can't rely on the adjacent property owner's screening to address your proposals screening.
Yeah.
So let's settle two things though. Is screening possible here? Because ultimately the commissioners need to decide if they want to require screening or if Diane can volunteer screening. So we have 14 feet is what David's saying and 4 feet is what Diane's saying. So how can we settle this?
Well, what happened to Stephanie?
Well, I can speak for it, is that how it can be settled is, either the applicant can basically, like kind of what you're saying, Will, is offer up, yes, I'll put whatever screening I want, or basically it's left up to the commission to make that a condition of approval. But that's how it's going to be.
I mean, we can't tell them to plant something if there's not physical room. I'm just trying to settle if there's physical room or not to even plant something if we want to require it.
They could put a fence up along the portion where there isn't sufficient space. And then as it swerves away from the property line where the garage is, where there is sufficient room, which is probably the most likely place where there will be vehicles parking. So you could have fencing where there's plenty of room to install a fence as screening and then plant where there is sufficient space for planting.
Yeah, that definitely all sounds possible, David.
I would agree with that statement, Will.
Let's ruminate on that. I don't think we heard from Virginia yet about her questions on this application.
Well, as far as this section goes, good fences do make good neighbors, as do good screening hedges, if possible. So it looks like the proposed garage is only 10 feet from the property line. Is it possible to push it a little further away, thereby opening up more space for the driveway in the last section of it, so that you could hide the parking area a little bit more?
I'm not sure there's really a parking area.
Well, it looks like where it gets wide right before the garage seems like a parking area. Perhaps I am mistaken.
It's just the front of the garage, which is 11 feet.
Mhm.
I would imagine it's because it's a two-bay garage, and so you're creating area to drive into the two bays.
Get in and right, to pull in and out. I don't think having the backyard as a parking lot is something that would be, would certainly be something that somebody would care for. I mean, if we need to do some sort of type of screening from the house back, that's fine. It's from the main structure. I mean, I'm fine with doing that.
Thanks for your flexibility, Diane.
I think it's going to be too tight between the house and the property line, but from the back of the existing house back, which is basically where it's being extended, I don't have any problem making that some sort of screening.
I agree, since it says new off-street parking areas, so if that's what we're going to call this, it's only new from the existing driveway back. But Tyler, I was going to ask you, even if we wanted to run a fence to screen, can a screening fence go in front of the line of the front profile of the house, or does it need to stay behind it like a perimeter fence?
Honestly, I'll have to check what the standard says unless, you know.
I thought they had to stay behind the house.
Yeah, I think it would be totally fine for the fence to start, in line with the front of the house. I think that makes perfect sense.
There's not enough room. I don't.
It's a fence. It's, 3.5 inches wide at the widest point. I mean, I don't understand how there's not room for a fence. If there's, it can be essentially within inches of the property line, which is allowed. So
I'm fine with that. That's I would like it to be noted if that it's contingent upon the garage being built, because I'm not even sure the garage is going to be built at this point.
Wouldn't
Sure, if the
it
garage
have to
wasn't
be,
built-
wouldn't it have to be contingent on the driveway being added though, not necessarily the garage being built?
Well, yeah, the driveway and the garage is all part, right?
Yeah, that's right, Dan. So if the driveway doesn't go in, you don't have to.
If the
build
driveway
fence.
doesn't extend past the house, then right, there's no issue.
Well, I'd say if no new off-street parking is added.
Right, that would be a good way to put it. Yes,
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Thanks for working with your neighbors and David on that one. Virginia, do you have anything else you want to cover?
Well, the materials list says that the garage doors will be glass and aluminum, assuming the garage does get built. For the aluminum part, is that going to be like with a smooth finish or a pebbled
Smooth.
finish?
Smooth.
Smooth. Okay, good.
Yeah, so it mimics wood. Yes.
Oh no, it's not supposed to have any wood grain.
No. Smooth.
Okay.
To me, that mimics wood, not
Oh.
texture. Texture doesn't mimic wood in my book.
Well,
Maybe
yeah.
mimics
You've been around and
mimics
around.
mimics a
This
bad
is-
paint job, maybe.
You can have a pebbly kind of stucco finish on it,
Right.
but not any kind of wood grain.
Yeah. No wood grain.
What else
Okay,
you got,
that's all
Virginia?
I got.
Okay. So that's Liz. Liz, it's a couple swirls since we last checked. You still good, or do you want to bring anything else up? You're still good. Okay. And then again, my lighting thing, I always like to see lighting when they come in with a project so we can get a full picture of it, but this one's being submitted as a minor works. Stephanie Silence, we're not allowed to be sent that anymore, like Justin used to do. So
But you can, it can be
What
submitted
version?
as a COA. If you have, I mean, it would be helpful to clarify this in the standards. If you guys always expect to see lighting plans as a part of new construction and additions, then that's something that needs to be clarified, because in the past, those were mostly handled as minor works. I think it's more of a point of clarification of how you want staff to operate in the future.
and Tyler offered that already. So yeah, we were talking. I think we got a solution. It was just this just didn't have it in time for this one, but that's fine. Like this one can get through this way because that's the way the standards are written right now. Okay, so I'm hearing that everyone thinks this is appropriate per the standards, and with the caveat that if the new off-street parking or driveway, whatever you want to call it, is added ultimately to go to the garage, that there will be screening, that will be a screening plan that will be submitted to staff. And it will involve fences where there's not physical space for plantings,
Or screening, right.
or screenings to the satisfaction of staff. So that's what I think. That's where I think we're at. Can I get a motion of finding of fact on this one from anybody? Or I can do it too. It's fine. Grab it. I move that we find as a fact that the Eklund application is in keeping with the overall character of the historic district and complies with the relevant standards of evaluation based on our discussion of the application and the standards of evaluation in section 3.12.3 of the Unified Development Ordinance, because the plans are consistent with design guidelines. Shoot. If anybody's got those, please say them.
I've got it. Additions to residential buildings, porches, entrances and balconies, windows, new construction of outbuildings and garages.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second,
Second.
Okay, and Will Spoon votes aye. Will Center, how do you vote?
I actually still struggle with the massing and the compatibility with the guidelines on the addition relative to the height of the addition, so I vote nay.
Okay. Noted. Liz, how do you vote?
Aye.
Virginia, how do you vote?
I'm not sure, but if I vote nay, that's 2 nays, right? And that is a tie, I think.
Well, let's talk through your concerns.
Well, mainly is the fact that I wasn't planning to be at this meeting and I haven't had an opportunity to study it real carefully. But I am concerned about the massing as well. But I just imagining looking at it out of my window, I think I would feel there was a lot of massing.
Can I just say something? This is a huge lot. If you have been to the site, which perhaps you haven't been able to, this is a huge, huge lot. And so when you're looking at it in that perspective, it is definitely not, in my opinion, you know, I mean, it'd be one thing if it was a small lot, but it is definitely not a small lot.
Hey, Tyler, can we see, do we have a satellite or an overhead image that shows the house with the concern in relation to the house that the applicant lives in? Just so we can get a feel for where they are compared to what they're gonna be looking at?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
And when you particularly look at the surrounding houses, it's definitely not.
Give me 1 second. Here, well, wait, 1 second. This is the house or property.
Okay.
We're not I don't see anything.
Oh, you do not see the GIS? Is that not showing?
No, not yet.
All right.
You have to turn off your screen share and then share your screen and select the other screen. I will say from my experience years ago that elevation drawings it's very hard to interpret massing from an elevation drawing, which is the drawing I believe that David showed earlier, because it flattens everything. Oftentimes for new constructions, you know, years ago, we would see like a sort of a 3D model or something to show massing, because elevation drawings and aerials don't really convey the mass of something. So.
Yeah.
I don't totally disagree with you, Stephanie, but we don't have any.
What's with the public? I thought the public thing was closed.
You're talking, Diane. I believe that means that I can talk.
If the public hearing has been closed, then there's no more testimony.
Okay, so I
can't remember. I'm sorry.
As long as we're consistent, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, we did our motion of a finding of fact already, so I think the public hearing is closed.
Yeah, so staff can still talk as a part of the deliberation at the end. So I was just reminding people that I don't, if there's a real struggle, I'm not sure you have the right information to make a judgment. So it can just be a little bit misleading. You have to sort of put it together inside of your own mind, what the mass of this addition is going to be like in reference to the house. That's all I was trying to say.
Well, as it stands at the moment and what I'm looking at, I'm not that impressed with the size of the lot. It's very deep, but it's not very wide. So I'm going to vote nay. Sorry, I hardly ever do that.
And can we get any standards you're citing, Virginia? I know you didn't come prepared, but if you just
The one
suggest
about
what you think it is to
massing.
staff. Okay. And
That's all I got, massing.
Are you talking about the one that Will mentioned about the height and of the new construction? Will, do you have that?
Will Center.
Will Center?
It's the standard for additions to residential buildings. The specific number within that standard is item 7 that references design new additions to be compatible in height, roof form, scale, massing, surface materials, detail, proportions with primary building, keep the addition height lower and the width narrower than the original house, setback side additions at least 2 feet from the front plane of the house. So that's item 7 of the standard for additions for residential buildings.
Thanks, Will. And it looks like we lost Diane. I don't see her anymore. Is anyone else still seeing her?
And she's probably fed up with us. Well,
And maybe just to clarify real quick from my perspective, one of the things that I struggle with is, the lot naturally slopes away there. And so, the overall height by the time you get to the back of the addition is substantially greater than the, the overall height of the structure, at the street side as well, which I think emphasizes that. And from my standpoint, if the roof line of the addition was dropped a little bit, so it was more clearly subordinate to the primary structure, I think that would probably help my assessment.
Thanks, Will.
and then with a garage, that's gonna fill up it seems like it would fill up a great deal of space, which I think is what massing refers to. So
Tyler, does it mean anything that we lost the applicant? Can we continue, or do we need to table, or what?
I mean, it's kind of a tough one because, in a person meeting, if the applicant gets up and walks away, it kind of is their indication of them.
they're withdrawing.
Withdrawing, but in a virtual meeting, it could have been of any situation of internet. She said the first time it was her computer dying, so that could have been her phone dying. Unfortunately,
The applicant, I'm sorry, but the applicant doesn't have to be present for the vote. The public testimony is over. You can move forward with the vote if you want, or you can table the application. The motion that was made earlier did not pass. As a 2-2 vote, that it does not pass. And so you now have a non-motion. Your finding of fact has not passed. So you can table the application and ask for additional materials. And then if the applicant
was here, she could agree to make modifications, but she's not, so we're stuck.
You're not stuck. You can either, someone can make another motion, another finding of fact, or you can table the application, ask for additional materials. And if Diane decides she wants to withdraw the application, she can do that.
Let's not table, since we didn't hear that was there. If she did intentionally leave the meeting, then that tells me that she's withdrawing, kind of like Tyler said, if you walk out. So
I don't think we can assume she's withdrawing, especially because she already had one internet issue tonight. I do not think we can assume that.
That's
okay.
what I was. Yeah.
So staff's thinking we need to table till January 5th.
I wouldn't say I'm suggesting anything, but the option is there to table it to January 5th and state that it seems like 2 of the commissioners are wanting more information. So that may be something that is requested.
One of the things you could ask for is a 3-dimensional model, or just a drawing that shows the massing more correctly than the either the aerial or the elevation drawing convey.
And maybe the screening plan, since we do know that that's going to be a part of it now, if that moves forward. So how do we? I haven't tabled. So I move that we table this till January 5th.
Stephanie, can we? We've sort of verified that the motion failed. I just need.
No, No, the finding of fact failed.
I mean, the motion, the voting was 2-2.
Yes, the finding of fact
Right. Okay, that's
failed.
all.
So now that finding of fact did not pass, but the
Right.
application has not been denied.
Right.
There's been no move to deny the application.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I understood.
It's just the finding of fact that failed. So there would have to be another finding of fact before you could make a motion to approve with conditions, or deny.
Thanks.
Diane is back.
Can I ask a question about, perhaps I'm being naive, but all of the stuff we're talking about actually happens behind the house, not part of the front of the house. And it's not clear to me how deep we're supposed to go into that part. I thought it was like additions were, as long as they were behind the home and sort of away from the view, that's more what we were talking about. But am I off base?
Well, based on the drawing of the proposed elevation, if you're looking from the front, help. Put it down. She's never done that. Can you see it from the front? The crest of the new roof.
No, you can't.
No.
Okay. Well, that's good.
We have to respect the adjacent property owners' concerns about massing. Sorry to interject.
Yeah. If you guys are going to continue to discuss this, then you're going to let applicants talk, then you have to open the public hearing, because everything that's been said since the public hearing was closed cannot be used as evidence to back up any future motion.
Okay.
You're either going to, if you continue to discuss this, you need to reopen the public hearing, or now that the public hearing is closed, you can make a motion to table this. Or perhaps, Will, you could summarize for Diane, who was off the call for a minute, that conversation.
Sure. So Diane, we weren't sure if you had another IT problem or if you had to step away, but we're discussing tabling this one until we can get some drawings that can help us better understand the mass of the addition and what the screening plan will be, either a fence and or plantings. And we can offer you a spot January 5th. It's pretty wide open. We always hate to ask people to come back, but there's just the finding of fact didn't pass, so the commissioners were already split, and at that point it could go to a no vote. But we do want to offer to table it to get this additional information together, if you can handle that.
Can Stephanie, my understanding, and I've been doing this a while, as you have, is that the mass, that the concern is from the street, and that's where the mass comes into play. Do you have that you can read that? Is that, am I off base on that?
And Diane, one other thing I have to mention, we closed the public
I'm not
hearing.
public, right? I'm not public, right?
Anything we discuss at this point, it can't be used for our purposes of documenting the meeting or anything. So
if you want to keep talking, you need to the chairman needs to open the public hearing.
I'm sorry.
For not, I mean, Diane, for anyone. I mean, honestly, even if you want me to keep talking about precedent and interpretation, I think it would just be better to reopen the public hearing. If that is what the will of the commission.
I'd prefer to table it. I don't think we have the information we need to make the decision tonight. So
yeah, so then the best thing would be to just be able, let the applicant know what information you would need.
Of course. So I moved to table this this application until January 5th so that we can see. Will, could you say the type of drawings that you'd like to see on massing? I think you spoke to it earlier.
I think what Stephanie suggested was isometrics that would provide a 3D rendering or perspective of what the addition would look like with the existing structure.
That's right. So isometric renderings that would show massing in combination with the existing structure, and then the screening plan for the new driveway parking area that shows where a fence in relation to plantings if you decide to go forward with the garage. Can I get a second? On the table motion? All right. Roll call vote. Liz?
Aye.
Will Center?
Aye.
Will Spoon votes aye. Virginia?
Aye.
All right, so it's tabled until January 5th, and Tyler can work with the applicant to guide them towards those additional materials we need.
Will do.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Diane.
I, of all people, can appreciate Diane's position. So thank you. And the Swaneys appreciate the consideration. Thank you.
All right, everyone have a good night. And that closes the new applications. Last thing on the agenda is an update on the house on King Street from staff. The Axel Bank case, sorry.
Yeah, real quick, that's just, that was brought to my attention probably 2 weeks ago, and reaching out to the property owner and their attorney, should be getting that, hopefully that situation handled. We're meeting in the early December, so this week or next week, and should be getting a plan to go forward to fix the notice of violation.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Hey, yes, this one was kind of rocky tonight, kind of a bunch of weird situations. Sorry about that. Thanks for everyone's patience and guidance, Stephanie and Tyler. And unless either of you have anything else you want to chat about, I can make a motion to adjourn.
I have one question for you, just a clarifying question.
Yeah.
Oftentimes your agendas for the next month fill up before like the meeting. So for instance, your January agenda might sometimes be full before the December meeting. If something gets tabled, is it your practice to allow more than 4 applications? Like in the circumstance that happened tonight, where we already had 4 complete applications before Maureen Quilligan's got tabled last month, we allowed this agenda to grow to 5 applications, which I know is a lot to handle. And you guys have some policy that 4 is the cutoff. I just wanted clarification for Tyler in the future as to whether or not your expectation is that we can load that agenda heavier because of the tabling, or if you expect us to bump someone off the other agenda, which in some ways doesn't seem fair.
What's the policy? Or I mean, we want to.
The policy says you allow 4 agenda items. That happened under Justin. I don't know how or when. We used to, when I was staffing, oftentimes have 5 or 6 agenda items.
Where is it documented? Is that in the standards? Or?
No, yeah, it was a vote.
Yeah, it's on our webpage. There's before you can, there's a hyperlink to the application, and then below it is the basically Justin and I can't remember Jill, I can't remember who, but they
Jill.
made they made a motion and have it signed and everything about 4 major applications is the limit. So I guess we can talk about what is technically major application, but
and I'm really only curious about this strange, probably pretty rare circumstance where something gets tabled. As long as you guys, if you're okay with what we did, where we moved it into the agenda as the first item, but still allowed the other 4 to go, If you're not okay with that, this would be a good time to let us know, because I think that it seemed like the fairest way to handle that situation.
I personally am fine with it. I kind of count Wednesday night as a wash anyway, and I've stayed much later than this. So if flip it back to you guys, if you're okay with, I feel like I'm kind of like kicking people through these really fast. If it looks like things are moving too fast and we're not being deliberate enough, I want to, having less would let us talk about each one more. But when I know we got 5, I'm really going to burn through them as fast as I can.
Well, you know why this has happened? I mean, this policy came about when we were talking about a house that was built on West Tryon, and it went until 1 a.m.
Oh my God.
I think the Colonial Inn was also
Yeah, that's a
part of
Colonial Inn night.
Ugh. Anyway, after that, Mayor Tom heard about it and he was outraged that a bunch of volunteers had to stay on till 1 a.m., which was nice to know somebody was paying attention. So that's where this began.
So the other boards, the other advisory boards, if their meetings ever run over a certain time, the chairman, like if it gets on to 9 or 9:30 and people don't seem to be making great decisions, the other chairman will just say, we're going to shut it down and table what's left to the next month, because no one's making good decisions at this point. But that's something that's kind of made on a case by, like on a meeting by meeting basis. And I'm not trying to dig up a whole can of worms here. I just wanted to make sure that the way we handled it tonight was not contrary to some conversation that you've had in the past, that we can staff have the authority to like add a 5th item if it seems doable. To me, it seemed doable tonight because a couple of them seemed I thought a couple of them would be fairly quick.
I'm totally fine with it, and I want to do everything I can to look like less of an obstruction as far as HTC goes. Like I don't want people to think they got to wait months and months for these. So I'd rather work an hour later and get them done than people wait a month later.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah,
we won't load them all. It's just in these rare circumstances, I wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page.
Liz, how do you feel? You okay with that?
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Okay.
And, maybe we do have sort of an arbitrary, maybe we don't go past 9:30 or 10 and just have that be sort of what we operate under.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, because we don't want to waste applicants' time. Like they don't want to stay here till 1 a.m.
that was a bad night.
All right, so that's that. Anything else from staff before we close it up?
No, I think you did a great job moving through 5 items. It was very efficient. Great.
Yeah, thanks everybody. All right, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All right, how do you vote? Aye, Liz, Virginia?
Aye.
Will?
Aye.
Will Spoon, aye. Thanks everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks. Feel better, Virginia.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.